Welcome, welcome. All right, let's get started. Hi, everybody. I'm Shel Honecker. I am the managing partner of a company called Athenia Creative Services LLC. That is the parent company of a couple of projects and brands, one of which is Direct2Readers.com, which we'll talk about today. But the other that you probably all know and have come from is IndieAuthorMagazine.com. Indie Author Magazine started in 2021. There was a group of about 22 of us that got together that decided that this was a great idea to publish a monthly magazine to give context and to have conversations in the best possible formats, in the best possible places. And so we've published more than 30 issues now. It is absolutely a labor of love every single month. We have more than 80 writers that contribute and one amazing editor-in-chief, Nicole Schroeder, who keeps the rails locked down and keeps the journalism machine moving forward. And then we also have indieauthortraining.com, which is our sister project. And I'll talk a little bit more about those as we go along. This is really to talk today about discoverability, to discuss what's coming in the future months in terms of search, in terms of how readers will find and consume your books, in terms of what AI is doing in this space. So we're going to talk a lot about machine learning. We're going to talk a lot about really all of the things that are impacting publishing as a whole. Just a couple of housekeeping things. I will share my screen. I have a lot of slides, but I also have some direct sort of jumping in and showing you what to do. I am what's called a nonlinear speaker, which means I'm watching all of these screens at the same time. And as people have questions, you can pop them into the webinar chat, or you can pop them into the Q&A. I don't get rattled. If it's appropriate, I'll answer it right then. If it's something that I'll get to, I'll wait and I'll answer it at the appropriate slide. And if it's something that I'll hold until the end, I'll hold until the end. But I will absolutely go through and make sure all of your questions are answered. I am the person that can answer them. So we'll get them done today live. Unless, I have to go build something, which sometimes happens, not going to lie. Sometimes I do have to go off and build exactly what you're asking for. If you have a question that would be better served by asking it verbally, you can absolutely raise your hand and I will open it up so that you can talk and ask your question that way. So this is not meant to be a strict presentation. This is more of a conversation, although I do have it in webinar format just for the sake of there's a lot of people in this, so we didn't want a lot of noise and a lot of cameras and a lot of everything. But normally I love to just have quick conversations with folks on Zoom and everybody was there in the meeting house. All right, so let's jump in today and talk about discoverability. So what we looked at, we've published several issues of the magazine and discussed marketing and discoverability and technology. And just as an aside, I have a newsletter that I started about 8 or 10 months ago in earnest called authorautomations.com. And in Author Automations, it was a way for me to scratch the itch of talking about all the really nerdy stuff and automations and how to connect workflows and how machines talk to one another. And I started that sort of as a way to document what I was doing in our business as I automated the magazine and automated indie author training and automated all of these things, because the magazine is, for the most part, fully automated in terms of production. But we have people in the mix too, right? So there's a balance between those. So Author Automations was a way for me to talk about that. But I started to see things that really troubled me and also things that were an opportunity. And so we built Direct2Readers to combat and confront those directly and head on. And I'm going to talk about those today, exactly what they are and exactly where I think things are going. So it's packaged, for lack of a better word, as a webinar of how to discover a hassle-free solution to help your readers find your books. But really, it's designed to talk a lot about where things are going in the ecosystem. Okay, so you guys should be able to see my screen now, hopefully. Yep, I see that. If you can't see my screen at the top of the Zoom, there sometimes are two tabs. One says webinar and then one says presenter screen. So if you don't see it, you can switch over, but you should see my screen now and you should see the slides that I'm going to go through. All right, let me just preface this first by saying, what do we mean when we say indie? And this anchors everything that we're talking about today, because indie in our minds and in our ecosystem does not mean self-published, right? That's out there in the zeitgeist for a lot of people to say, is that indie means self-published, but that's not what we mean. We don't mean that. We mean who has taken charge of their career. So for example, I started trad. I was a trad writer and I had a trad deal. And then in 2012, I wrote a book and I published it on Lulu and I went indie and I took charge of my career and I very quickly became a hybrid writer. And so now we don't really see a distinction there because your work is out there. It's your intellectual property and it's out there in many different formats and in many different ways. And it should be. The challenge is that when you get it out there in all of those ways, how is it discovered, right? And so we're going to talk about that today. All right, so let's just talk about the elephant in the room, right? We are all suffering from challenges when it comes to readers or listeners or watchers or whoever discovering our books. And as the magazine, we've heard it all, right? People are feeling socially overwhelmed. Your content's not out there enough. Ads are underperforming. I've been at several masterminds this year, and the common thread is that ads are not doing as well as they once did. And there's the tips and tricks that we used to have at our disposal are not working as well, right? Storefronts, building a storefront, everybody says go direct. Storefronts cost time and money. You don't necessarily want to build a Shopify store, although they're great. You don't necessarily want to maintain a WooCommerce shop, although that's great. And marketing sucks writing time. So in this vast network of conversations that I've been having, these are the common threads that I'm hearing, is that all of these things are taking away from the thing that we all signed up to do, which was to be a storyteller and to write our books. And there's some challenges that can be solved and some that only time will tell, and some of the technology is going to have to catch up with it. But after 30 plus issues of the magazine and countless conversations, three things are true, right? Three things are true. One, discoverability is broken. And when I say discoverability, I'm talking about how readers find you without spending exorbitant amounts of money to pay to play, without using Google, which is changing. We'll talk about that. AI is making things harder. AI is making things more challenging. There's lots of things out in the fear-mongering world about what AI is doing to our industry. I'm not going to talk specifically about those today. I am just going to stress that you having a relationship with your reader, you having relationships and owning that relationship and cultivating that relationship will stave off any fears that you have about AI replacing you as a creative. That's not going to happen because what readers crave within stories is the connection. They're looking for emotion, and that cannot be replicated by AI. AI can write, it can do a good job, it can replicate your voice, but it can't replicate the relationship that you have the opportunity to cultivate with your reader. So keep that in mind as we go through and talk about these things today, because this, I think, as I've thought about it and had conversations, are ways that we can future-proof our businesses and our industry, to be honest. And I hear a lot of people say the gold rush is over, right? There was a period of time in 2015 to 2019, 2020, where the mantras were publish faster, nothing sells the next book, or nothing sells this book like the next book, right? There was that hustle culture and that grind. And there was a lot to that, right? The 20 books to 50K ethos was born out of that. And people looked at 20 books to 50K as an ethos, but really it was a retirement plan for Michael Anderle. It wasn't necessarily meant to be a methodology, but a lot of people adopted that as I've got to write, I've got to have a backlist, I've got to write, I've got to fast, I've got to release, I've got to rapid release. And I reject that. I reject that. I reject hustle culture. I reject all of that. If you have the right relationships with your readers, if you put out a solid, strong stream of books on whatever timeline you choose, if you have a flywheel of people that you can refer and they refer back to you, and that becomes your discoverability, you can have a long, sustainable career and write at your own pace and enjoy what you're doing and have a career that really serves you and not the other way around. Here's some more common myths, right? You just need better ads. Book sales can be solved by creating more effective ad campaigns. All of these myths also, of course, have a kernel of truth within them. So there's nothing that says you should have terrible ads, obviously, but that's not the get rich quick or the quick fix to any of these things. Likewise, direct sales. Direct sales are a solution. It's not the solution. You do need to have a reliable sales funnel. You do need to have technology in place to be sure that you can capture that reader relationship and you have conversations with them and you're continuing to engage and delight them, right? And direct sales is one opportunity and one advantage that you can have by doing that, because obviously retailers aren't going to give you the name and address of the person that they sold a book to. That's never been their model, right? And so we shouldn't be surprised that we're at their mercy if they decide to change things. And direct sales are one way that you can mitigate that and one way that you can use that to get them into your ecosystem. But retailers, it's a hard sell. It's much harder to get a retailer onto your newsletter, a retailer sold work onto your newsletter list or onto something that you control. Likewise, social media, right? I say this all the time, all the time. It's going to be in my headstone. I swear to God. Don't build on rented land. Don't be a digital sharecropper. And what I mean by that is if you are all in on one retailer or two retailers and you don't have a way to connect with your readers if you get locked out of your account, or if that retailer decides to sell, or if market circumstances change and they decide to change the commission structure, you're out of luck, right? You are out of luck if any of those market conditions change and you are all in and you have built your business on their land. What you need to think about, what you should think about, is how do you cultivate that reader relationship? How do you get them from the retailer into your ecosystem so that you can email them, so that you can send them a push message, so that you can send them a text message? All of these new direct avenues of communication are now open to you. They're now available to you. And there's going to be ways that you can do it on your own websites, but there's also mitigating step. We've created direct-to-readers to sit in that liminal space and that middle space so that you don't have to build if you're not ready to, and you can still sell direct, right? Another myth is if it's not working, post more on TikTok. Again, that just feeds into the hustle culture. That just gets into the grind. And yes, there are algorithms. That's a reality that we all have, but there are ways that you can do more with less. That's a lot what I talk about in author automations. There's ways that you can leverage what you're already doing. You can do the same amount of work and post in different places. There's all kinds of ways that you can do those things, but none of these are one quick fix. And then the last great myth that I hear a lot, and I've heard this at almost every conference and every mastermind that I've been to, is one great paid promo will kick it off. That is not to say that a book club isn't fantastic. It is. We have partnerships and we work with all kinds of different paid promo and promo companies and newsletter swaps. But one of those is just one of those. It's not the total solution, right? It's not going to be the end all be all. And I'm hearing that they're not as effective as they once were. A couple of reasons why: readers are now saturated with generic genre emails, right? They sign up for an email to get things about thrillers, and then they just get thriller after thriller. And there are lots of ways to find books now, and there's lots of opportunities for readers to have more personalized and specific recommendations. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that because, again, I think a lot of things have changed in the world, and we're just now in the publishing industry catching up. Okay, I'm going to take a quick check of the news and webinar chat here. I don't see anybody's freakouts. I love that. No freakouts. Any questions that you've got? Remember, you can always post them in the chat, and I will definitely answer those as we go through. All right, now that I've depressed you, let me start to build up some hope. Let me give you a little bit of joy. The first way to future-proof your business is that you need relationships with your readers. You need to get them and use whatever tools you've got out there, whether it's Substack, whether it's social media, whether it's TikTok Shop, Facebook catalogs, whatever it is, you need to get those people into a relationship with you. You need to get them on your mailing list. That's the quickest way, right? And nobody's surprised by this. That's the quickest way. But you need to build your relationships with your readers. It's the only way, it's the only thing that you're going to own ultimately. And it is really the only asset that you should be chasing. Sales are great, but sales are a byproduct of the relationship. Everything that starts and ends in your business starts and ends with the relationship and the way that you have connected to your readers. When I talk about discoverability, discoverability means that readers need to be able to find you. And again, that's becoming harder and harder, but it doesn't have to be. There are new ways and new opportunities for them to do that. And let me just say this, and let me just clarify this. The problem with readers not finding you is not your fault. And there's three reasons why. The first is algorithms don't care about your books, right? Algorithms were designed. Google is an algorithm. Amazon.com is an algorithm. Kobo, all of these search methods for finding books are algorithms. It is, they take all the data, they plug the data in, and then they push out whatever the reader is asking for in terms of keywords and categories and all the data that goes in. But algorithms don't care about your books, right? They are there to serve, one, the master that wrote them, which is the retailers or the search engines, or YouTube or whatever it is. And two, they're there to serve the reader. They're trying to serve up whatever it is that person is looking for. So the algorithms don't care specifically about your books. Two, retailers don't help you connect with readers. That's not their business model. It's never been their business model. And that's okay. As long as you know that foundational reality, you can work with that. And three, social media can't fit broken infrastructure. And here's what I mean by that. If you are consistently and constantly posting on social media, but you don't have a mechanism for capturing them and that relationship, you can sell and you can have something go viral on TikTok. It absolutely means nothing if you don't have a way to sell and capture that reader relationship. It does not matter if you have 1.2 million viewers on TikTok, if you're not capturing that reader relationship, if you don't get them on a mailing list in some form or fashion, if they don't buy a book from you on TikTok Shop, or because what you think you're chasing are sales, but what you're really chasing is the reader relationship. That's the key to all of this. So going viral, social media can't fix if you have broken infrastructure, meaning you don't have a way to get them into your ecosystem. It is vitally critical. That is your end goal with everything. So let's talk about what readers now expect. And this is becoming, as readers ourselves, this should become an aha moment for you, because readers now have the ability to ask natural language questions. They can ask search engines. They can ask ChatGPT. They can ask for natural language recommendations and continue to ask questions until they get their answer. We can rail about AI all we want, this nameless, faceless, whatever we want to call it, but it's here. It's baked into everything. It's baked into Siri. It's baked into chat. It's baked into text. It's baked into search engines results. It is in the DNA now of our human experience as we move through the world, right? And AI doesn't care if you don't like AI. And that's just the reality of it. We need to leverage how we can ethically and comfortably incorporate whatever we feel comfortable with into our world. But the main thing that readers, you have to understand the reader psychology of it and the searcher psychology of it is they're now becoming used to natural language interactions. And two, they're now becoming used to customized, tailored, and personalized recommendations. They're becoming very used to asking specifically for what they want and getting specifically what they want. And let me give you an illustration of that. If you go to Google and you type in romance book, you're going to get Google searches for days and days about whatever Google has served up. Google is good at understanding context and relationships of things. That's a very generic request. But above that search, you're now going to get AI tailored responses with the ability to ask follow-up questions. And it's going to start tailoring those recommendations to your specific interests. Also, we are now, right? Every time we say, I've read and accepted the terms of and conditions, and anytime we say accept cookies, we are accepting that people are that you're being tracked. That is just the reality of it. Your digital footprint follows you everywhere, and marketers like me ethically stalk you. I know because you've been on this webinar, I can send you follow-ups for it. I will know when you go to my website. I will know what places you click on the website, and I can send you offers and things tailored to your interests, right? That's all marketing is, showing someone the right offer at the right time based on their interests. And the right offer is determined by the thing that they need and what they're asking for. It is now easier than ever to get that. It's easier than ever for you to know what that is. So the state of things has changed again. And there are three things that you need to pay attention to if you are chasing sales, if you're chasing this career, if you're chasing having a career of longevity. One is what's called schemas. And schemas are, for lack of a better word, the way that two machines talk to each other, right? And this is the way that machines know what your web page is about. So if you go on to any web page that sells a book, if it is well done behind the scenes, it has what's called a book schema. And that book schema says, this is a book, it is written by this person, it is about this, it is available in these formats, it is available for sale here, it is in this general category, it has this ISBN number, and it has on and on about everything to do with your book, right? If you put a book up on your website, just on a regular page, probably, no judgment, probably, you are not putting that book up with what's called a book schema. If you put a book up on any website, WordPress, Wix, anything, it probably is there as what's called an article. That's the default for every web page and every blog post and everything that's out there. Products are put up as products. So if you use WooCommerce, chances are your book that you've put up for sale on your website is not listed as a book for sale. It is probably listed as a product for sale, which means you're losing the opportunity to differentiate and make sure that is listed as a book, which then feeds the search engines, which then feeds the natural language AI models now, which feeds everything else. Yeah, so the question is, schema is the metadata. Yes, yes. I'm talking super high level, Kiri. This is very 30,000 foot view of schemas. I'll break it down in a more detail in a little bit. But the point is that specific schemas tell other machines what it is that they're looking at, right? And so back in the day, when we used to do like website SEO, you would always hear don't keyword stuff. So don't put up a page and then have all kinds of stupid keywords or try and game the system. Schemas are a way that you can ethically tell Google and the AI LLMs that are feeding off of Google now what your book is about. So it's you putting that out there and telling it specifically what it is. The second is AI-powered search. Now, if you have used Chrome or really any browser lately, you will probably see AI-generated search results at the top of it. The question is, how do those results get there, right? How do you get there? How is that impossibly, how do you get that coveted spot? You get there with a schema, you get there with a website, you get there by feeding the search engines. It's really not a different SEO, it's just SEO amplified. SEO stands for search engine optimization. It's just SEO alt optimized, right? And schemas are part of that. And then the third is personalization. And what I mean by personalization is that you are consistently out there. I know that's really scary for some of us, especially me, with our spicy brains, and we just want to write books. But honestly, this is the state of things. You have to be out there. You do. You don't have to be a personality. You don't have to tell people what you had for lunch. You don't have to get ready with me videos, right? You don't have to do all of the icky parts, but you do need to be out there so that people can connect with you and you can create a sense of personalization. Okay. Questions? Any questions so far? I'm clueless about how to start and maintain a mailing list. Is there a relatively inexpensive software service that would allow me to initiate a mailing list for my published writings and audiobooks? Yes, but I will say if you go to indieauthortraining.com, we have conversations and training classes over there that will help you answer that question. You can get started with any email service provider, right? There's SendFox, there's MailerLite, there's MailChimp, there's a ton of them. It just depends on where your tech and your comfort level's at. But if you go to indieauthortraining.com, we have mechanisms there where you can view videos of the different email service providers. You can learn about them. And that is really going to help you narrow down based on what you want. Every question or every answer that I can give you there is it depends. There's customized choices there. It depends on what you're going to do and how technical you are and how much you want to spend. I'm a big proponent of free. I'm a big free girl. I love free. How do you create a schema for your book that you place on your Wix website? That's a good question. And you know who answers that really well is Stuart Grant from Digital Authors Toolkit. Stuart Grant builds Wix websites, and he did a webinar on indieauthortraining.com about Wix, and we can get you connected with him because he is a Wix expert. Good question. There is a way to do it. And if anybody knows, it's Stuart. Personalized information. He could probably answer that in about 2 seconds. I'm a WordPress girl from way back in the day, way back in the day. Yeah, Jocelyn says it's pretty easy for Squarespace too. It is pretty easy to do once you know it, and it really will boost everything in a massive way. I do on indieauthortraining.com have a webinar that I did about schemas. So if you go there and you want to learn more about schemas and what they are and how to do them specifically for WordPress, but I do touch a little bit on how to do it for others, you can go to indieauthortraining.com and there's a free webinar. I put all of my training up there. Okay, so let's talk about what the machines see, because this is important. Because again, now all of this is elevated, right? It used to be whatever you put in your keywords and your blurb and your description and your title and your metadata, that's what the machines went off of. That's what Amazon went off of. That's what everybody went off of. But now that's no longer the case because the machines can see your imagery. They can see your book's images and they can do inferences based off of that, which is great, but also a little bit terrifying, right? But the machines can see it. So this is my next book. This is called Curses and Currents, and it is a cozy magical mystery. It's paranormal cozy fantasy. And I plugged this into I have a generator that can tell me what the mood is. And this is what we use for direct to readers. And I'm going to give you an opportunity to use it yourself to see what your book is about, because it'll come back and it'll say, based on the cover, it inferred that it was a paranormal cozy mystery. So I was aligned. Yay, good. Yay me. I'm so happy. It can also detect mood. It can say it's mysterious. It can say it's whimsical. It can say it's enchanting. And then it's got keywords that come off of it too. Enchanted coastal town, magical legacy, puzzle, slow burn romance, family secrets and magic, ley line, mystery, small town magic unraveling, witches and sea glass. Now, it did not get that just from the cover, right? Because the cover gives one piece of the puzzle. There are also context clues around the cover that I have put in, like my blurb, like my title, like my series name, like my character descriptions. All of those things become part of your publicly available listing on Amazon.com, on Kobo, on barnesandnoble.com. On if you use Draft to Digital, you're out in all of the spaces. If you use Publish Drive, you're out in all of the spaces and you're wide. All of that's great, but you're putting that in one time, and this is what the machines now see. So I always encourage you to run it through so that you understand what the machines are seeing, because if you're wildly off base, if I had a picture of a volcano on here or a monster or whatever, it's going to throw the machines off. They're not going to recommend your book because they truly don't know what your book is about. Now, the game has changed in terms of discoverability because you can run things through and the AI visuals can understand what they are, and they're adding to the data points about your book. All of this becomes what are called a vector database, right? And a vector database is a big fancy name for it. Okay, so let me back up. It used to be that with true databases, you had a row of data, and in there you had all of these different columns. So you would have genre, keyword 1, keyword 2, keyword 3, blurb, title, series name. All of that is a database, right? And all of that is very tightly and neatly defined. And it's called a relational database because it relates to different things. What's now possible with AI and with machine learning in general is what's called a vector database. And what vector databases do is they put the information in, and then they have all of these data points that sort of sit and live around it in relation to that thing. But it also becomes more data points for it to search off of. So it becomes, instead of genre as fairy tale romance or paranormal cozy mystery, it becomes that plus the mood of the book, plus what the protagonist is about in the book, plus the antagonist, plus all of your tropes, plus all of your subtropes, right? Plus all of your relationships, all of those. So it can understand if it's a slow burn. Even if you don't put slow burn in the description, these vector databases can now index all of this information and figure out that's what your book is about, right? So it's got a vectorized listing instead of just a linear listing. And that's important because it blows open the possibilities and everything that we can do after that. It's huge. All right. I was going to conferences. I'm really lucky that I'm the programming director for Author Nation. So I got to look at what was in the zeitgeist and what people were talking about and what people were having conversations about. And all of these things led me to believe that we needed something. There was a piece missing. There was a problem to be solved. And because I don't sleep and I consume a ton of caffeine, we built what's called Direct2Readers.com. And in its strictest form, Direct2Readers is a website that helps you elevate your discoverability, right? Every book you put in, every audiobook you put in, all of the serials and subscriptions, comics, graphic novels, movies, and shorts. This is a giant database. We designed it to be a marketplace, if you will. So you are like a seller, you're a vendor there, and you can put all of your books in there. But we wanted to do it in a way that gave you the opportunity to be discovered. And we wanted you to do it in a way that readers can now find you in a different way. So we did the discoverability and all the nerdy stuff behind the scenes. We did all that, right? So you've got AI enhanced metadata and schema-based SEO to help your readers find books. That's all to say the nerd stuff is done. We also wanted you, because we're an agnostic platform, we wanted you to be able to choose where you sell. So if you choose to sell on your own website, great. You're going to send your listing for your book or your audiobook or whatever to wherever you decide you want to sell it. So you can choose your website, you can choose Amazon, you can choose Kickstarter, you can choose Gumroad, I don't care. I don't care where you sell your book. Doesn't matter to me. But we also wanted to be the fallback. If you didn't want to build a Shopify or a WooCommerce store, or you didn't want to send people to the retailers where you didn't get the reader information and you didn't get a chance to put them on your website, we wanted you to be able to have a fallback. So you can sell through us. We become the merchant of record. We handle the transaction details. We handle all the money grossness. We handle the tax nexus, stupid stuff, all of that. And we didn't want you to wait 30 days to get paid. So if you sell a book, and after the money's in the account in 4 minutes, you can suck that money out, right? It's yours. You can have it. I don't care. We wanted you to be able to build a storefront without any stress. So you can set up your listings. It takes about 2 minutes. You can upload your book details, and then we handle the rest. We make sure that it's got the right schema. We make sure that we're pinging it over to the search engines. We're making sure that it's doing all the things that it's supposed to do so that you can focus on writing, because that's all I want to do. And it's powered by local AI and data. So one of the questions was getting all that vector info, will it feed any generative AI? So let me just stop and explain this part. If you list your book for sale on Amazon, it's getting fed into search models. It is being fed into them, right? There isn't a way for you to stop that. If you put a book up for sale, your stuff is being fed. It's just the reality of the world that we live in now. Now, it understand what you've put in. It's not training on your book data. It's not training on the PDF upload of your book, but it is getting all of that metadata, right? That's just the reality of the world that we live in. What we have chosen to do on Direct to Readers is we are not connected to large language models. We're not connected to OpenAI. We're not connected to Llama. We're not connected to Anthropic, right? Our search and our AI-driven chatbots, everything that we have is powered by a local AI. And we chose to do that for a number of reasons. The main one is we wanted you to know that we're not sending your data off to train any models. That's just not part of it's not part of our platform. It's not part of our ecosystem. It's not part of our ethos, right? Our ethos is for you to choose. That's for you to choose. So we have chosen to block scrapers. We have chosen to not feed large language models. And that's just how we've chosen to do it. Now, that's not to say other places that you post your books may do that. That's their business decision. That's their choice. Please go research all of them. There are incredibly ethical companies and some that are not. So one of the questions is, does Direct to Readers include all formats, digital, audio, and POD? Yes. And I will talk about that in a second. Also, I know for a fact that companies that take you wide, draft to digital, and like Publish Drive are incredibly ethical and don't do anything shady with your stuff. So you can be sure. I know those companies well. I work with those companies. I partner with those companies on different projects. I know for a fact they do not. So you don't have to worry about, I can speak for those companies directly. I can't speak for anybody else, but if you have a question, I'm happy to answer it, or I'm happy to connect you with the person that can answer it, because I do know that we have a ton of really great companies. And what our place sits at is we work with everybody that's out there. We're not in competition with anybody that's out there. And that's really how we sit both with the magazine and with Indie Author Training and now with Direct to Readers is we're here to amplify your books, your messaging, and work with the people that are already doing that well on top of it. Can we get the customer emails and can we contact them directly without GDPR issues and worries? Okay, so that's a great question. So the first one is yes, you do get the customer emails because they've created a transaction with you. Can you contact them directly without GDPR issues? Yes, the first time you can ask them to join your newsletter through our service because we are the merchant of record for those. But within your storefront, let me show you what a storefront looks like. Within this storefront here, you have the ability to put your newsletter. You'll have banners up here that you can set up and you can invite them to join your newsletter. You can offer them a freebie, right? These are storefronts for you. We're not trying to hold on to that relationship. We want them. We name the whole down company Direct2Readers. Like we want you to be direct with them. So whatever you want to do here on your store listing to get them to connect with you, even if they don't buy a book, is fine with us. GDPR does have issues and worries, and we will help you mitigate those, right? We don't want you to get in trouble for contacting them. If they buy a book from you, you have created a transactional relationship, so you are able to contact them. You can put them on your transactional mailing list and invite them to your marketing mailing list. That's the long technical answer. Good question. Okay, does anybody have any questions about the AI part of it? That is I'll step back off my soapbox. I use AI every single day. I use assistive AI. I don't tend to use generative AI. I do use it in some cases, but I always disclose where and how I do it. Just so everybody's clear, within the magazine, we don't use AI to generate images. We don't use AI to write news articles. Every article is written by a paid human at the magazine. And that's what we've chosen to do. But we also recognize that however you choose to use generative AI is your choice, and there is no judgment from us. Anything that we ever explain or discuss is from the perspective of education, right? And eyes on your own paper, people, right? We do not AI shame in this family at all. We built direct readers for the machines, right? We built it to talk for the machines, but it was built for you. So the first thing is the right schemas for rich results. So if you put up a book or an audiobook or a special edition or an ebook, behind the scenes, we write the schema and we feed those search engines with whatever the schema is. So if you've got a special edition or you've got a bundle or you've got an omnibus or a box set or whatever it is, we adjust the schema so that all of the search engines know that's what it is. We also have AI-driven chatbots, and this is going to be a big deal in just a second because that is how we want readers to find you. And that is how you have longevity and a long tail for your backlist and for finding books in forever, not just during your launch phase, right? We've always been conditioned to have great launches, but what happens in 6 months? That's still a great book. Readers should still be able to find it in 6 months. We want to change it so that that is an evergreen work that you've put into the marketplace, not just a launch and then you fall off the cliff. So we have an AI-driven chatbot that will help figure out what your book is about, add to all of the data points that you give us, and then make those reader recommendations forever. And then all of this goes into our own vector database. So what we do is when you load something into the system, we put it in, we go out, we get all of the publicly available information that you've put out there about your book, we add to it. We can go out, we can look at your also bots, we can look at who is in the competing space, we can bring that back and add that to our vector database. We can go out to the website and figure out what people are saying about your book. We can look at reviews, we can get a 360-degree view of your book, and we can bring all of that in there. We're not indexing the reviews to push back out to people. We're not going to show reviews that are in Google Books or that are in Amazon.com. We're using that to get a sense of what your book is about. And we're adding that into the fullest possible vector database so that people can find your book based on that. So the question is, you can't be in KU if you're on direct readers. Yeah, you can. You can absolutely be in KU. We're a discoverability engine. So when you put your listing in there, you send them to KU to read your book. Yeah, you can be in KU for sure. So we built this discoverability engine. So it's books, audiobooks, Kickstarter, subscriptions. You can be on Ream, you can be on Substack, you can be on Medium, you can be anywhere. I don't care. You could be standing on a street corner with a sign. Sure. That's great. If we can send them to you, we will send them to you. You could set up your videos. You can put your podcasts in there. You can put Lit RPG in. You can do comics. You can do graphic novels. It doesn't matter. Whatever you've got that you want discovered, this is the home for it. And we're going to try and amplify it as best we can. So the question is, maybe I'm jumping here, but can we link the purchase links to Amazon, Direct2Digital, or any other source? Yes, that is exactly what I'm saying. Yes, you can. Our sales mechanism is a fallback for whatever. If you are humming along on KU, if you're humming along on Amazon, if you are killing it on Hoopla, stay there. This is a choice for you. We're here to amplify whatever it is that you're doing. So behind the scenes, we send your work to search engines. Each of your listings has the right schema. Google uses this for your rich results, right? And so I do have a very separate class over on indieauthortraining.com that talks about what rich results are. The rich results are, if you go to Google, I'm not going to do this live, but if you go to Google and you search for any popular author, on the right-hand side, you see all of the rich results there. You're going to see a picture of the author. You're going to see where they're sold. You're probably going to see that they're local libraries. All of those are what are called rich results. Those rich results, those knowledge panels, are driven by the schemas and SEO and all of the things that go into that. We handle all of that weirdness, right? That's what I've been doing for the last 20 years. That's what I've done with this website. For your own purposes, for your own SEO, that also gives you a backlink to your website if you're sending people to your website to buy them. So you get a backlink automatically. And Google uses that for rich search results. And you know what else they use it for? Their AI-driven search results. That is what's driving the AI-driven results. All of those rich results. Now, you can't tell Google, please put this in the rich results. You can only use the right technology to nudge Google and say, hey, hi, I'm cool. Can you index this? Most 99.9% of authors don't know to do that. You don't know. It's okay. It's okay. We'll do it. We know. We also don't feed or train larger LLMs. Like I said, we have a closed LLM. It's actually an SLM. It's a small language model. It's our own. We have it privately hosted and we use it just for ours. Our chats are locally hosted. Everything that we do is locally hosted. We're not feeding anybody else's machine. So how do you get paid if we sell elsewhere? Do we pay you 20%? No, we charge an annual fee to use our system, which you get all of the extra stuff. And if you sell with us, then you get 80% commission. I'll talk about that in just a second, but we are a discoverability engine, right? So you're paying for the listings and then you can sell wherever you want, right? We're not going to make money off of those transactions and I don't care. How often does the vector database get updated with book info reviews? Is this automatic and instant? It is automatic because I built author automations and I'm a nerd. So it vectorizes everything. Once you hit submit and you put your book in, it goes and vectorizes it right away. Now, vectorization usually takes about 10 minutes per listing, so it's not instant, but it's as instant as things get in the vector database world. And then if you update your listing, it also gets updated and re-vectorized with the new information. Is the Amazon link a universal link, sending the reader to corresponding Amazon site? So Isabel, what you're asking is what link you would put in there for a listing. What I would put in there is what's called a universal book link. And you can use, there's a couple of them. There's Direct2Digital has books to, I can't remember what it is. Draft to Digital has a universal book link, books2read.com, right? That is, so the books2read.com, let me just show you on Nicole's. What she's done is sent them to books2read.com because she's set this link up and it has found all of the places that it's for sale. So she's giving her readers a choice to go to any of these places to buy the book, right? And that's where she has put her, these are her live listings on direct2readers.com. And when you click buy the book, it takes you off to buy the book where she has chosen to sell the book. There's also Genius Links. Yes, Charlotte, there is. There's also Genius Links. There's also, just to get super nerdy, I wrote a WordPress plugin that lets you create short links with your own domain name. It's called Story Links. And this is a free plugin that you can download at storylink.to. And you can go to plugins.authorautomations.com and you can download it. If you have a WordPress site, I don't sleep. I do weird stuff a lot. Are you able to put two buy links? I have Amazon and other distribution stores separately. No, you can't. You just have the one link there. So if you're going to do that, I would suggest that you have a universal link and you send them here so they can choose. That's where these come into play. The URL where the pricing info is given for buy direct and other services. Right. So this is what a listing actually looks like here. Right. So if you open it up and then there's just the one link that says buy the book here. And that one link is where you send them. Good questions. Okay, so readers, let's talk about readers for just a second. Readers need a recommendation engine, and all the data points you tell us about your book supplemented with other publicly information becomes part of the vector database, right? And then what we do is we have a natural language chat for them. And this is just a screenshot. I can show you. We're coming up on the top of time, so I want to be careful that we don't go over. So I'll share this with you, and then we can always have follow-up conversations. But we have things that say, like, this is an example of a chat. Do you have romance books? Yes. Would you like fast pace, slow burn, right? Readers are getting more used to figuring out how to find books. And so this is a way, and I have to say, this was born out of a conversation. I was sitting in a room with Damon Portney from Book Funnel, and he said, I just want somebody to tell me the next book to read. And I went, oh, I can build that. And that's what this is. We're just telling people what the next book to read is. So if you go to Direct to Readers and you chat with the librarian, here is an example of a chat. And they go through, I like Paranormal Cozy. Here's a Paranormal Cozy. It will recommend things. And then, of course, it has the purchase link in there. And it will keep track of all of this. And it will vectorize these conversations if they say they want them. And we'll remember what books they've read, and we'll remember what their favorite authors are. We're going to ask them a lot of great questions about their reading habits, and we're going to remember it. And then we're going to serve up personalized recommendations based off of it. So that is the whole, there's the discoverability side for you, but also the recommendation side for them. And so we're also setting up the email recommendation side. So we set up a welcome sequence, and readers tell us what they've read and what they want. And it's not a one-time promo, and it's what we call flywheel marketing. So when someone signs up with us for emails and they say they like Paranormal Cozy Mysteries, and you put your Paranormal Cozy Mystery in 6 months ago, it doesn't matter. If they come in and they say they want a Paranormal Cozy Mystery that has a strong female protagonist and cozy, magical, witchy, coastal vibes, your book is going to match that, and we're going to send that book to them. It's not a one-time promo or a pay-to-play. It's a constant promotion, continuous promotion with personalized recommendations. Now they're not quite finished yet. No, full disclosure, we're still working on the completely dedicated emails and the reader list, but the engine is there. We're just building out the front end and what it looks like. The second part of it is we're also, because now we have a database of all of these listings, we are creating TikTok shops and Facebook shops. So when you create a listing, you'll be able to tick a box that says, send this to TikTok shop, and it will send it over to our direct to readers TikTok shop. Okay, a couple of questions. Let's see. Can I switch my Shopify website name and link to you? Can you replace everything they do for me? I would say no, not really. We can host your domain name and we can point it to your page. It's not going to be as robust, but sure, we're happy to do that. Yeah, we can absolutely do that. I would want to have a conversation with you to be sure, because if you're going to lose email capabilities or website hosting capabilities in other ways, we don't want to take that away from you. Subscribing, I'll get to that in just 1 second. How do the readers find direct to readers in order to find us? Good question, Charlotte. We have a couple of ways. One is we've started a new magazine called Storyteller Showcase. And Storyteller Showcase is going to have, it is a new magazine for readers. We are going to be distributed in the gift bags and the swag bags at all of your favorite reader events. We are compiling, we have about 300 reader events right now. That is one way. The second way is we're going to run a ton of ads. We're going to start bulking up the reader database. And we're also partnering with a bunch of people. And I can't discuss who we're partnering with, but if you think of a promo site and that name comes to mind, we're probably talking to them. So we have lots of ways that we're going to find readers, and we're partnering with a lot of people that already have readers. We're not going to reinvent the wheel and start a website from scratch. That would just be crazy. I'm guessing they've put their search into a search engine, not into Amazon search. Probably, but we're going to have a lot of different ways to find people. Does this work well for Kidlit? It's going to work well for everything. Is the reader history data available to authors? No, it's part of a vector database. And so, no, that's not available. And primarily that's because they have entered into a privacy policy relationship with us, not with you. And you can imagine if we started sharing the reader data with 60 or 70 different people, everybody would freak out, and that would be fairly unethical. Even if we don't have a Facebook or TikTok, yes, Cheryl, even if you don't have a Facebook or a TikTok. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that, John. Thanks so much. Do you handle nonfiction as well as fiction? Yep. Absolutely. We handle everything. And that's because we can go back and we can set it up with the right schema and we can tell it exactly what it's about. Okay, so if you are ready to become a direct reader storyteller, this is how the setup will look. I'm not going to belabor this because we're at the top of the hour. But again, it's your book and your choice. So you can sell direct, you can put your link up to Amazon, you can do a Kickstarter, you can sell from your site, you can do serials, you can do Substacks, you can do KU. It is 100% choose your own adventure, friend. If you have different kinds of books, are you able to set them up in groups on the sell page? Yes, you can do a bundle on the sell page. The other thing that's really cool is the subscription, the way that it works is just for the annual subscription, it's $100 a year, and that's $100 per pen name, not per listing. So for $100, you can put, so I have Lola McDougall as my pen name. I have all of my books under Lola McDougall there, and then I have my nonfiction under Shell Honaker, right? So it's different pen names and they're all grouped together. Then within that, you can sell bundles, you can put bundles together, you can do omnibus editions, you can do anything. And you also choose your pricing. You choose what you want to sell it for, right? It's completely up to you. Let's talk real quick about selling direct versus a listing, right? If you choose to sell through retailers, great. If you send them to anywhere else to your own website, great. That is fantastic. We are the fallback. If you sell direct with us, you can use us as your direct sales storefront. We take PayPal and we take Stripe, right? You don't have to have WooCommerce. You don't need Shopify. You don't have the tax issues. We take care of that. We're the merchant of record. We upload your EPUB or your print book and your covers, and we make them available via BookFunnel or Lulu for delivery. Those are the partners that we've chosen to partner with, and they sit on our BookFunnel account and our Lulu account. You can have them separate on your own Lulu account. That is perfectly fine. But that is how we make them available for delivery. We do not feed large language models. We do not send any data off of there. This is strictly for POD, right? For BookFunnel and Lulu. When an order is placed, the customer's charged what you set as the price, plus tax if applicable. You can tell I didn't use I had to write this because I misspelled that. Plus shipping. It's calculated, right? Your commission is 80%. So it's 80% of the sales. You get the relationship data. Our 20% of that one transaction covers the merchant fees and the tech costs for delivery. I've got to keep the lights on. That's it, right? So you get 70% with Amazon, you get 80% with us. Choose where you want to go. Perfectly fine with either one. That's how a transaction works. So it's your storefront and your connections to your readers. Again, on your storefront, if I go back to Nicole's storefront, I can see that she can have a banner up here. She can have a for sale banner. She can have things in her bio. She can put in her bio for people to sign up for her newsletter on her website. You can send them to your own social media accounts. Again, we named it Direct to Readers. That's it. That's what we want to do. When someone buys direct from Mural, how does the reader read? If it's an ebook, it's through BookFunnel. If it's a print book, it's sent through Lulu. So here's what your subscription includes. For $100 a year, you get the AI enhanced book listings. But again, these are our closed vector databases. You get the schema-based SEO. You get unlimited titles under your pen name. You'll get the reader matching emails. You'll get 80% royalties paid daily. And for the first 100 people that sign up, we are including your listing in the inaugural edition of Storyteller Showcase. Yeah. If it's print, it's sent through lulu.com. Lulu.com. Can we get author copies from Lulu? That's a good question, Deborah. Let me check with them. We've got our account. We send everything. We have the automation baked in. So we would do that manually. Obviously, the answer is yes. It just wouldn't be something where you could click and say, send me an author copy. It would have to be, that would be Elaine that probably would do that for you. Are you doing more webinars like this? Woo, Isabel, yes, I have been webinar averse, primarily because I'm on so many webinars and podcasts and doing different trainings for other things. But really, this is where my heart is. This is where I'm passionate now. So yes, I'm doing that. And I'm also training on indieauthortraining.com. I'm in the UK. Is D2R an option for me? Yes, absolutely. And also, if you're in the UK and you are going to be at Self Publishing Formula Live next month, I will be there and I'm happy to chit chat with anybody there. I'm thrilled to be speaking at that conference. Also, I will be at Author Nation. And again, I pull double duty as the programming director for Author Nation. So I will be teaching a ton of stuff at Author Nation, but also if you have any questions about whether or not you should go to Author Nation, obviously the answer is yes. And I would love to hang out and see everybody there. So if you have questions, here's just a couple. Do you need to leave KU? Nope. Can you use your own sales platform? Yep. If you have questions, you can email support@direct2readers.com. Happy to answer questions there. And if you're part of the 100 Club, you get your listing in the Storyteller Showcase in the new magazine, which is evergreen and will go out for the next, I don't know how many issues we've got going to which conferences. But I want to leave you with this. Imagine waking up to sales you don't chase. Imagine that you can wake up and you didn't have to hustle all the time, because honestly, that's where I was. That's where I've been. That's where we've all been. And so we wanted to build a better mousetrap. So thank you for staying to the end. I have something really cool for you guys. This is called the Discoverability Report. And if you want to see what your book looks like through the eyes of the algorithm, if you want to see what the machines see in terms of your mood, or in terms of what they think your book is about, you can do this. You can only do it with one email address. But if you go to direct2readers.com/ discoverability dash report, and you put in your name, your email address, your book title, your Amazon ASIN, and your ISBN. You don't have to put those in, but it does give better data if you do. And then describe your book, paste in your blurb, and then upload your cover. It's going to do an image analysis of your cover. And then you put in all the keywords that you think your book is about. You're going to get back in about 10 minutes a report about what the machines see. What do the machines see? And yeah, you can do this. Pick one book for this and see what the machines see, and that will get a sense for it. If you want to sign up, go to the website, go to direct2readers.com. Down at the bottom, I hit it. I'm so dumb. Click on sign up to sell on Direct2Readers. It's at the very bottom. You'll also get it in an email with the webinar replay after this. But if you go to sign up to sell on Direct2Readers, you'll go here. You'll do join now. Here's all the stuff that you want to know about. You can answer all of this, and then you sign up, create your account here. This first part creates your account on Direct2Readers, and then you'll get to the place where you're going to subscribe, where you will pay. It's either $19 a month or $100 a year, and $100 a year. Right now, we're adding 6 months. We're adding 6 months. So you get 18 months for the price of 12. Why am I doing that? Because we're not done building, right? I really want to have all of the tech is built. The email, we don't have a big email list yet. And so the benefit to this is going to be when we have a bigger email list and when we're able to generate the recommendations. But the cool part is that if you get in there now and people are chatting, we don't have millions of books in there yet, right? So the chances are people are going to find your book if they're searching in any sort of vague category about what your book is about. So 100% get in early. We're going to give you 6 months extra because for the next 6 months, all we're going to be doing is going hard and building this. So thrilled to have everybody in right away. So go to direct2readers.com. I'm going to pop this link in there one more time. If you just want to go straight to the sign up, go straight to the sign up there. Yeah, Elaine, it was putting the link at the bottom. I did have it at the top, and Elaine said no. Yes, if you're Canadian, you can join. We're thrilled to have you. Thrilled. We will send you the replay, and you can absolutely share the webinar replay with other author friends. If they go to webinar.direct2readers.com, they'll see this webinar, and we're going to have that up there in perpetuity, forever and ever. Do you plan to work with Ingram Spark as well as Lulu? Sure. Yeah, we'll work with everybody. That's the beauty of it. What we have built is modular, right? We partnered with Lulu because Lulu's been a great partner for us. And Lulu, we've worked with Lulu for years. Lulu is how we distribute the magazine, but we would be thrilled to take a call from Book Vault. We would be thrilled to take a call from Ingram Spark. We're happy to work with anybody. That's our agnostic ethos, right? Is that we're not there to compete. We're there to amplify everybody else. We're happy to help. Okay, so if there's no other questions, thanks. I know we went a little bit over time, but you guys asked great questions, and we're thrilled to see you there. Please let us know if you have any other questions. You can email Elaine at support@direct2readers.com. She is fantastic about answering questions. We also have chat bots that sort of help. And again, everything is in the closed ecosphere, so it's really helpful. If you get in today, the first Storyteller Showcase issue that will be distributed will be at Reader Nation, which is the reader event adjacent to Author Nation, and there you can see James Patterson. So we're excited that Reader Nation is our very first event. It's going to be fantastic, and hope to see everybody there November 15th in Las Vegas. Please let me know if you've got any questions, and thanks so much for coming and hanging out. We're always happy to help our author friends because we are author friends, right? We built this. We are working indie authors. We are in the trenches with you, friends. So thanks, everybody. Have a really great day. Let us know how we can help.